Hi, and welcome to That Guy's a Maniac, the podcast. I'm your host, Richie.
And I'm your host, Kanzi11, aka Farley. Cue the music.
So, how do we start episodes now?
Just cold open straight into it.
But what should we do? Like that social bit, like when we sort of say, "That guy's a maniac."
So the music will just have played, right?
Yeah.
Remind me what it is for this season.
We have a rendition of Elvira from the Commodore 64.
Right. Okay. So imagine it's like radio DJs coming off an ad break.
Welcome back to Sunny blah blah blah.
That was Commodore 64. Elvira. Up soon is Kent with the weather.
Oh, good old Kent.
Good old Kent.
Yeah, been a while. Okay, it's really hard to do that cold start.
I know.
Okay.
Just think of all the Gen Z who are like, who are these old people who are saying hello every time. Just fucking go into it.
Yeah, no, we're hip, we're cool.
Down with the kids.
But not really. Like most of the podcasts I hear, they always start with like an ad or something like and subscribe and get, say to this mattress company that it's from That Guy's a Maniac and get 10% off delivery or something like that.
That's why I love the ad skit so much. Oh well. Oh, we'll bring it back. We've got to do remix at some point, right?
Yeah. Oh God.
Good.
Spoilers. But now we're committed to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are we recording? No.
Yeah, we are recording.
Fuck.
I mean, that's the cold start. That's the cold start. And I did briefly say all one word, lowercase, That Guy's a Maniac for the socials that we never update. And of course, but listen, this episode is not going to start because we're going to start with the new thing that we do, which is the game, which is character item level.
It's so catchy. We have to read it from a call sheet every single time we do it.
Yeah, because well, you said it.
I guess it's my time to guess, Richie. So, do you have a character item or level?
I have a character.
A character. Okay. I'm conscious that we have started slipping into using the same set of opening questions. I'm going to try and...
Is it from a Nintendo franchise?
Yeah, I know. And that is a good question because it kind of narrows down a lot. But is it from a PlayStation franchise? It's so shit. Is it Kratos or one of the guys from a game I can't even name? So it's not a good one. Is it a first-person shooter? What is it? A character?
It is a character. Yes.
Character. Okay. Is this character from a first-person shooter?
No.
The genre approach is bollocks, isn't it?
No. Well, actually, if you get the genre, that would narrow it down a lot. But
that's true.
Finding the genre, there's just so many you could go through.
I'm gonna go. Yeah. I'm gonna go different direction, complete different direction. Is it an animal?
No.
Okay. Is it a woman?
No.
Lady/girl.
Actually, I don't know if they gender confirm.
Really? Are they gender ambiguous?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Jotting down notes like it's some kind of detective case. Animal, gender ambiguous.
Well, I mean, come back to this. Come back to this once you know who it is. Yeah.
Is it? Are they a protagonist?
Yes.
Protagonist. Do they have weapons?
Ooh. Not at first. That's not a yes or no answer, but yeah.
Not at first. Okay. Is it? No, I'm not gonna guess. Are they from a retro game? Typical.
Yes.
Yes. I'm really defined what retro is.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's an older game. Was this character in a Commodore 64 game?
I do not believe it was on the Commodore 64. No.
Okay. Are they playable on a Nintendo system? It's just such a useful question.
I am going to say no,
Right.
but we could possibly look that up and be corrected afterwards.
Brilliant. So, what information do I actually have? Is they don't have weapons at first, and they're gender ambiguous, and they're a protagonist.
Yeah. And not an animal.
Not an animal, or on the Nintendo 64, Nintendo or Commodore. Did I say Commodore 64?
You said Commodore 64, yeah.
Right, and I assuming that also includes all other Commodore systems.
No, it doesn't.
Ooh, okay. Are they made of pixels?
They are made of pixels, yes.
Okay. It's a protagonist, pixels, gender ambiguous.
Well, where do you draw the line at Commodore systems? Because I'm not meaning like a Commodore 128 as opposed to 64.
Like I fucking know a Commodore beyond Commodore 64.
That generation is not on that generation of computers.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it are they yellow?
Not at first.
Not first. Okay, someone's changing colour and getting weapons. Who changes colour and gets weapons? Do they kill enemies?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Are they married?
No.
Not married. Just dodging this Nintendo question is just not a good strategy. Is it in a game developed in the UK? What the fuck are these questions?
Ooh, I don't know where it was developed actually. I'm gonna say no.
Right. No.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Is it? Yeah.
Except I'm wrong. It was very much developed in England.
Brilliant. Okay. England specifically.
Yeah.
That narrows it down. You gave me a freebie there. I only asked about the UK. It's not an animal, right?
Not an animal.
Is it? Is that gender ambiguous? Is it the marble from Marble Madness?
No. No, it's not that obscure. Not that obscure.
Okay. Well, it's not that obscure, is it? Is it Pac-Man?
No.
It's clearly not an England game. Is it? Well, I haven't got a genre yet, have I? Is it a sports game?
No.
Is it a puzzle game?
No.
Is it a platformer?
No.
Fucking hell. Is it an arcade game?
No.
Is it a RPG?
No.
Is it a flight simulator?
No.
Character that you play as? Oh, it could be. Is it a shmup?
It's not a shoot 'em up. No.
But yeah, a British sense shoot 'em up. I mean,
No.
like side scroll. It's not bullet hell.
No, it is
Okay.
not.
It's not the ship from Gradius. Well, it's the character, not a thing. Oh God, is it a niche genre?
It is of sorts. But there was lots of this around. You don't get it around so much anymore.
Don't get around so much anymore. Is it set in a circus?
No.
Is it a real time? Is it a real time strategy game?
No.
What other dead genres are there? Is it problematic game with homophobic,
No.
racist,
Nothing,
xenophobic?
nothing like that. No.
Okay. Is it what's like SimCity?
That's a strategy. No, actually, what do you define them?
Yeah. Is it a
City builder?
City builder? Is it a city builder, theme hospital, blah blah blah,
No,
Civ type thing?
no.
Okay. Is it a
I,
fighting game?
it is not. Oh man, I feel like
Is it Wario?
no.
Wario's not gender ambiguous. Is it? Is it? He doesn't start off as yellow. He kind of depends what game you're playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it the dude from? No, it's not the dude. Oh, is it the Doom person?
It's not the Doom person though.
Okay. Is it? Is it
Doom guy?
John McClane from a Die Hard game?
No, it is not.
He's also not gender ambiguous.
Okay, other dead games because I want to move this along. So
Okay.
that, yeah.
MMORPGs.
No.
Since
Yeah.
Sports games, platformers, text-based adventure.
Oh, right. Now, where would be a linear move from text-based adventures?
So from text-based adventures to point and clicks.
Yes.
Okay. Point and click. Gender ambiguous. Oh, is it the dude, the thing from Neverhood?
Neverhood?
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Um,
Think of other point-and-click games that you have played.
Beneath the Still Sky?
Oh.
Is it a robot from Beneath the Still Sky?
Yes, it is Joey the robot from Beneath the Steel Sky. Well done! It's a bit tough, wasn't it? So it was the Commodore thing I really didn't want to throw because technically Amiga is Commodore Amiga, and I didn't know what your definition there was. Is it on a...
Is Joey the robot... Does it ever get yellow?
He gets different shells. I'm going to say that Joey does get a yellow shell. I think he gets a forklift one.
I honestly can't remember that game in enough
detail.
Oh,
right, okay.
Well, there we go. Wasn't that good?
No, it wasn't.
But listen, it's surprisingly, it's broadly on our theme of today's episode, which is it's the season, and today we are looking at retro, i.e. retro, although I don't really have to spell it out because you've already seen it if you're listening to the podcast. And I want to kick off with, because we hear a lot about retro, particularly these days, as there's kind of like a aging gamer population online. So kind of, there are retro gaming creators, retro gaming spaces, and there is constant debate online in gaming spaces about what is and what isn't retro. And the reason why we came up with the idea for this episode is because I saw somebody say online, I'm just getting into retro games, and has anyone got any PlayStation 3 titles to recommend? Which, made me feel a million years old.
It's very triggering.
I turned into ashes, but I don't necessarily think they're wrong. So I looked up the word retro because I thought maybe there's a definition out there, and I don't think the way we think of retro as in retro fashion, retro music, retro style, which all the dictionary definitions bring up, I don't think it really applies to video games in quite the same way.
No, because there is another definition of retro, which is like you can actually just sort of say retro graphics, which usually refers to non-3D based graphics and things like that. But that doesn't necessarily define what's a retro game. But yeah, sorry, that
Yeah,
pissing on your point.
the reason why I think it doesn't necessarily apply because retro, in all of those other fashion, culture, music senses, specifically refers to something that kind of went out of fashion.
Hmm.
Whereas I think since we could argue about the creation point, but since video games went mainstream, or since you could go to the arcade or buy video games, we've pretty much had a continuation, and it's not like these things have to be brought back from the dead because people are still playing on their systems, or you get games which never really went away. So it's not like people are dredging up stuff that went out of fashion because overlapping audiences means that this stuff never really goes in and out of fashion.
Yeah.
So that didn't really apply in the same way. So I was which will prompt me to ask Richie, what does retro mean to you when it comes to video games?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question, but yeah, similarly, I've been confronted with the sort of same thing as you were talking about with the PS3, in that there is retro remakes. So recently they brought out Lollipop Chainsaw.
Oh yeah,
and it was considered a retro game because it was on the 360.
yeah.
I was just like, wow, what? And the same thing is on another episode I talked about my recent penchant for cat games.
Yeah.
So I got a hold of a game called Gori, Gori, which is a love letter to all those old 360 games.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew we'd get here, right? Because for a while, mostly from kind of indie creators, they were creating sometimes explicitly, deliberately, on the back of the virtual boxes. Of course, they don't have boxes. The indie creators say, I was inspired by Metroid and Mario, and I really want to make a game in that style. And for a long time, indie games, there was a high, 50-50 chance that it was going to be some kind of, Mario with a gimmick. Mario, but what if gravity flipped around? Mario, or what if you could turn back time? Mario, but what if, essentially.
Yeah.
And obviously that was going to catch up as technology improved, as people's sense of nostalgia came. So, but now we're here, and then we seem to have jumped though. We didn't really have much that was kind of like early PlayStation era comeback, and maybe that's just because that early 3D games stuff was a bit jank.
It was a bit jank. I feel like we definitely skipped a generation by if we're now calling 360s retro, because I guess nobody wants to play shitty polygon games, we haven't had an era of, hey, let's do Resident Evil 2 alike games, and by that I mean static backgrounds with horrible polygons.
But that is a shame because I think that would be quite compelling.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. I'm thinking a bit earlier. So the game that always springs to mind is Jumping Jack Flash.
Okay.
So if you have a look up screenshots at home, readers, the Jumping Jack Flash, it was during a phase of the PlayStation. Sorry, I'm typing and doing it at the same time. Just to remind myself, Jumping Jack Flash, is that what I mean? That's obviously a film and a game, album and a blah, blah, blah.
So there's Jumping Jack,
Jumping Flash,
and Jumping Flash on PlayStation.
Jumping Jackson.
Yeah, Jumping Flash was an Amiga game as well.
Okay, so I'm not thinking of Jumping Flash at all.
Great.
Maybe I am. I remember. Maybe I am actually. So everything's kind of like floaty and spinny. It's where kind of the power of 3D games was first being explored.
This does not look 3D at all. This looks 2D.
Maybe I'm. Oh man, I have to dig out demo 1. What's I thinking of? Anyways, it's kind of a bizarre game where you're kind of on a floaty platform. Everything is massive polygons.
Oh, jumping flash! Exclamation mark. Yes.
My God.
Yeah. Sorry, I know exactly. It's like that old Harrier jump jet. What was it? Space Harrier.
Space Harrier.
It's like Space Harrier, but 3D. Yeah, cool. Okay, I know where you are.
3D,
yeah.
right? So everything, because of technological limitations at the time, right? So everything looks a bit like a tech demo. Everything is either patterns of squares or patterns of hexagons. It's all a little bit psychedelic, super janky, and to me that is the early days of the PlayStation, right? When our minds were being blown from the jump from like pixel art, even though arguably Rainbow Islands and New Zealand Story has aged significantly better than
Yes, exactly
Jumping Flash has. And then you get on to you think like end of PlayStation, like Resident Evil 2 is a great example, and of course we have had that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to see that. Anyway, I think I interrupted you at some point.
Yeah. So, my point was like, what do I define as retro? And because I'd had that recent exposure to the 360 is retro, that kind of just blew my mind. I would say, and this might be arguably in my head, I would define, and this is my personal opinion, is probably anything retro as before PS1 3D polygons, in all honesty. I know, in my heart of hearts, that there are some shocking looking PS1 and PS2 games which are all polygony and blocky, but I still kind of feel having 3D skeletons and moving about is still kind of current generation.
So let's throw some games at your definition. And there, I don't think there is a definition, and people have all kinds of definitions.
Yeah.
And also I think it changes with generation. I think we're particularly lucky to be the generation where we remember a time where you didn't really have these things at home, and then you did, and from then onwards. Whereas obviously a lot of people are jumping in when it's normal to have a console, or everyone has a console, or your first gaming experience was receiving your dad's PlayStation 1, from the attic or whatever. So if we threw Tekken 2 at your definition, for example,
I would say,
which if you look at it, I know the memory smooths it all out, and you think, oh yeah, it's just like Tekken these days.
No, it's
but if you look
jank
at it,
and
it's two Lego men.
Yeah. No, and I hear you. Like, but the same thing is like the fundamental core of that game, which is a 3D skeleton. One is less pretty than the other. I don't think has changed that much, or at least it doesn't feel like it's changed that much to me. So I would say Tekken 2.
Yeah.
And it hurts. I'm actually going to say it's retro. I'm going to say it's retro. Yeah.
He's saying it.
Yeah. Like,
he's saying it. Yeah.
Throwing my initial retro definition out the window. It is. I can't say it's not retro. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you imagine sitting next to a 17-year-old and being like, nah, this isn't retro, mate. Booting up Tekken 2. It's like, what the fuck? You're saying this is in the current, stable or whatever genres like Fortnite, and it's still passable. It's not retro.
It's current. It's really current.
It's current. Okay, so how about? I mean, you've already defiled your own definition, I guess.
Defiled
your own definition. But how does it work with with kind of charting console and handheld generations that provides like these easy cut-off points and big technical jumps? But of course, the whole time you've got PC, in the
Yeah,
background.
see, this is where it gets a bit muddied for me. I don't actually want to define retro by a generation because that is sort of a self-imposed. You wouldn't define fashion by, like a fashion company going out of business. You would to just to use the analogy that you used earlier for retro, by going out of style. And I think it's a little tough to, just because PlayStation brought out a more powerful computer, does that define the line between retro and non-retro? I don't think so, because there is like games at the end of its life cycle, which are better looking or better or have utilized the architecture better than the other ones. Yeah.
Oh yeah, certainly. If you look at jumping, whatever the fuck that game is called, versus what's something that came out very late in the day for PlayStation. I think like Final Fantasy 9. That was fairly late in the day.
Yeah.
So compare Life Force Tenka or everything on Demo 1
Yeah.
with Final Fantasy 9 and say, hey, we're going to squeeze those together and cut off the end of PlayStation 2 launches. Of course, these things actually technically overlap. PlayStation 2 launches, and we're saying everything made for this system is retro, and everything beyond is not. Okay, then how about a more obvious way? Again, thinking about fashion and music and blah blah blah, which is to define things chronologically.
Yeah, by decade or something like
By
that.
decade, yeah. So, video games of the 90s are retro. Video games of this century are not.
That's a very good point. Actually, I wonder if we could do that. Let's try this as a little sort of tester. There is the whole thing in fashion that every 20 years becomes retro to the next year. So there was that whole thing in the 90s.
Yeah.
The 70s were retro. Or the 60s, 70s. So it's like 20, 25 years sort of thing. How long ago was the Xbox 360? 2003?
Well, let's using that theory.
Yeah.
Let's say 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'll give you some 2004
2004 games.
And see if in your heart they feel retro.
Don't skew the bias. Try and throw some random ones in there.
I'm just going to go straight down. GTA San Andreas.
Oh, that's a tough one. Like, it's still very playable today. You know what? I'm going to say not retro.
Not retro. Pokemon Fire Red, Leaf Green.
I would say retro. Mainly because the sprites will always get me. Like, you show me sprites, blooming, like, any game that was brought out this year that still has sprites in it, I'll say retro.
You'll say retro.
Yeah.
Well, part of that, because I think there is actually an argument for it, is a like an aesthetic, stylistic thing, actually, when it comes to video games. Because I said earlier, it was different to those other things.
Yeah.
Which are things becoming unfashionable, coming back. Like I said earlier, some of these things never went away, right? There are series which have pretty much remained pixel series all the way throughout, or Pokemon's a great example, starts in 1996. The bones of that original game, well, not the bones and some of the soft tissue and actually some of the skin are still in Scarlet and Violet, right?
Yeah.
That is a continuation. Yes, there's some graphical changes, blah blah. Okay, I'll give you another one. Halo 2.
Annoyingly, I've never played Halo 2. But I think first-person shooters are probably the ones that have evolved the most. Although they have their own little niche world, and people are still playing things like COD. You know what? I'm going to say not retro. Not retro.
Okay, not retro. I'm going to say StarCraft.
StarCraft.
Even though that came out 6 years before 2004.
I'm going to say retro for StarCraft.
Okay.
Definitely.
The Simpsons Hit and Run.
Ooh, not retro.
Okay, so I think we not definitively proved. Onimusha 3.
On
Did
a
you play that
Musha
still?
series,
Yeah.
so that's the Devil May Cry engine, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna say not retro.
Half-Life 2. That is insane. Half-Life 2.
See, I want to say retro there.
Really?
Yeah,
I think you might need. I think you might be thinking of Half-Life.
maybe I'm thinking of Half Life.
Yeah.
Okay,
Half-Life 2 is the one where you carry the gnome, you drive the buggy.
okay.
I mean, you're entitled to Burnout 3, Takedown.
Not retro.
World of Warcraft.
Oh, I mean,
Was that launched in 2000?
yeah,
Wow. Yeah, apparently so.
yeah. It's the 20-year anniversary happening at
Yeah,
the moment.
okay.
Yeah,
There we go. Is WoW retro?
yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Well, it's a different.
Like playing when I played classic, I was playing a retro game. It
You were
felt
playing.
retro. Yeah, yeah.
That's fine. Okay, so it's not really working, is it? As a definitive
Yeah, no, it's not.
the decade thing, and I think we're arriving perhaps at the conclusion that it's more of a feel.
Yeah, it's definitely a. I don't know how you. There's a word for it. Like you were talking about. It feels like. Yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely a feeling. I'm still kind of drawn back to my pixels. Um, make it retro, but the defining line between 3D being retro to 3D being not retro is a little bit muddied for me at the moment.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
And uh, for me, I think it's quite clear. I think weirdly, I think it's I would say everything pre 360 feels retro to me, and I think it's because the important contributions from online play. So think of it as like, actually there's these hard characters, technical feats, which mean pre and post your retro or not. So like online play, which the PlayStation do kind of, and I'm sure there's some people at home being like, "Oh, actually in Japan, the SNES was
Yeah.
online." But yeah, games which I think everything that's games as a service. But then that kind of falls apart, right? With WoW. No, WoW's fine. That's 2004.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe for me the Xbox 360 onwards.
Yeah. But there are some PlayStation 2 titles that are probably still very, very um very much could be considered non-retro. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Is there anything under PS2 that you would say, nah, that's definitely more current Jenny?
Not current Jenny. Oh, no, yeah, whatever the opposite of retro is. Contemporary? No. Whatever. Let's just call it the opposite of retro. For me, I think Time Splitters 2 doesn't feel like a retro game.
No, that's true. But it's got like a cartoony aesthetic, and GameCube was PS2 as well.
Yeah.
So like
Metroid Prime.
Mario Galaxy.
Resident Evil 4. See, I'm Resident Evil 4 is definitely
Yeah.
not retro.
Yeah.
Right? Even though it doesn't have online play, which but I guess I was tying that to console generations. Yeah, Resident Evil. But then it's been remade, so maybe it's time for us granddads to get over it.
Yeah.
It's been superseded. Nobody cares. How do you used to save your games on memory cards? Fuck off, that's retro.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we had to buy these proprietary cards to put things in, and you only had like 4 slots, and Animal Crossing would take up 824 slots, and then you had to buy a new memory card. Whilst we think about it more, shall we go to an interval?
Yeah, let's head to the interval. And let's not dwell. Let's not dwell. We're just heading for an
Okay.
interval. Everybody take
All
some
right,
stacks.
everybody, go.
We're gonna have a little chat.
We're gonna have a chat. Ooh, how is the show going? Good, I think.
I think it's fine, apart from Jumping Jack Flash.
Jumping Jack. But well, it's because I remember having it on a demo disc, and then I'd play it or try to play it, and then after 2 seconds, like, what the hell? Particularly because we got things a little bit later here,
Yeah.
over in the backwater of the UK. So on the demo disc that had Jumping Flash on it, we also had like Destruction Derby, Command and Conquer, and so even when it launched, perhaps it felt retro. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. How was your week?
That's not what we're here to talk about. But it's been fine. What have you been up to?
Well, so I was hanging out in. Oh no, hang on. I was hanging out in Paldea, where I live in my house.
Paldea.
Paldea.
Oh yeah.
Paldea region. And I was starting on my journey to be a Pokemon master. And I was making my way through South Province Area 1. And my mum had said goodbye and packed me a bag. And I was really looking forward to going on my journey. And I chose my first partner Pokemon, and how stressful that
Yeah,
can
yeah,
be. So I went along to Professor
Professor Paldea, Professor Man.
Professor Future Man, or maybe Cave Woman Lady. What do I know? I'm a 12-year-old. I don't know adults' names. And then I got. So I went. What starter did you go for?
Remind me of the starters because I'm trying to refocus. That was the
Coco, Sprigatito.
Oh, Fuecoco, Sprigatito, and the crying
Quaxley.
lizard. No,
the duck.
The duck.
Sexy Brazilian duck.
So I went Fuecoco.
All right.
Yeah, which is a shame, because I really wish I'd gone for the Dancy,
duck.
yeah, Dancy duck, yeah.
But who we wanted to know. Well, particularly as you're 12 years old, and you don't really do any research. You just go with the cute one that you found. Anyway, so I went with the duck who has a hair like a feather like a hat. And so it was just me and my buddy Quaxley, and because I have no soul, I didn't give it a name, and I just called it Quaxley the Quaxley. If that's even its name, I think it is. And so we were setting out on our adventure. I had a single potion with me, maybe one Pokeball, and we left on the road to a big journey. And I was hoping that within about the space of 2 days, I would defeat all the adults in the region and become the undisputed champion, probably having to save the universe or time or something in the process. You know how it goes.
Yeah, meet some kind of deity.
After hours of training, become the strongest trainer in the world, meet some kind of deity or symbol of time, the afterlife, the Underdark, all creation, etc. So I'm making my way, and I've got my Quaxley, and we're kicking the shit out of the little bobbly spider boys, and we're kicking the shit out of whatever the Rattatas are of the Paldea region. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have a fishing rod or anything, so I was walking around. Also, there's lots of sparklies around.
Oh.
So just go up to find sparklies and basically just picking up trash in the region. But it's all useful trash, like unused potion or some kind of berry.
Always handy that it's sparkly as well.
Always handy that it's sparkly and there's nothing toxic, and you don't have a tetanus jab, or you found a discarded needle. You found a bloody old plaster. Anyway, so I was building my team, and I thought, do you know what I need? What I really need?
Oh, don't go Spice Girls on me here.
I'll tell you what I want. What I really want. I was thinking, what I really need to become the destroyer of the world is a fairy type.
Yeah.
Yeah, because fairy type is super effective against dark.
Yes. Definitely dark. Dragon. That's
the whole point. Ghost.
No.
Fighting.
No idea. No idea.
So bad. Okay.
Yeah, so you wanted to get a fairy type for all of the other types that it's strong against.
Yes, which I definitely knew from my trainer's handbook that Professor. But of course, me and my guys, me and my Quaxley, we're just weak at that point, right?
Yeah.
So we're just in the first area, and I'm looking, and I've got my Pokedex. I'm discovering new Pokemon. And I like here's a Igglybuff. Oh no, that's a bad example. Here's a Psyduck. Oh no, that's water. I don't want that. And then I saw some rustling.
Some rustling. What kind of rustling? Yeah. Oh, tell me.
Some rustling in the grass. So I went over, whapanged my Quaxley out at the rustling, and it hit something that turned around. I opened my Pokedex. It says this is a fairy type. At first, I didn't know what I was looking at because it kind of looked like Danish buns.
Oh my god! Don't tell me.
And so I fought it. I threw a ball and I caught it, and I thought, let's meet my new partner. And so I, with the ball, the ball went shook once, whoop whoop, and then chunk. I caught it. I gave Quaxley a high five or whatever digits he's got, or high wing. Went to pick up the Pokeball, and then I released my new partner to say hello and welcome to the team. And you'll never guess what I just caught.
Tell me.
I'd caught and was talking to a fucking dog.
Oh my god! Fucking dog.
Dogs. Fido, so weird. If you'd said to me, "Is Fido the name of a Pokemon?" I'd be like, "No."
Yeah.
But it is.
Yep. So you can't see this, but I'm holding my hand to my ear. News just in.
Yeah.
Fairy is super effective against dark, fighting, and dragon.
Yes. Oh, there we go. I knew it had some relationship with fighting. And I think, because you know how you rationalize it, right? So, how do you rationalize? Like, it's super effective against dark type because, edgelords don't like princesses.
That's a good way to remember it.
And it's super effective against dragons because dragons hate rainbow. And it's super effective against fighting because fighty people don't like homosexual.
You can't adhere all fairy types to being homosexual. That's not cool.
Let's have a look, shall we? Jigglypuff.
Let's not do this. No, like no, like fairy type.
Diancie.
There are plenty.
The one based on perfume. The one based on cakes.
There is plenty of like you get the oh my god, Granbull.
The little fairy who lives on a flower.
Again, like that does not necessarily
Clefairy.
affect their gender persuasion. Like you got there really isn't very many. Grimmsnarl.
Grimmsnarl is the emo
Yes.
gay.
Okay.
Anyway, but that doesn't make sense because. But yeah, it does because fighting types are like, God, yeah, hate. They're really anti-LGBTQ, but they're actually fairies super effective against them because love always wins.
Yes. Love always wins.
And that's how I remember the type effectiveness is. Or not. Okay. Oh, I think that's the bell to go.
Yeah, we definitely need to go back. Yeah.
To go back away from this.
Yeah. News just in. We need to go back.
Problematic.
Yes, very problematic indeed.
Am I wrong? Swablu.
Yeah. I enough.
Is that fairy? Who knows?
I
Who
think.
knows?
Yeah, maybe.
We're
becomes-
so not prepared.
Yeah.
Satan comes down. Let's get back to the podcast.
Yep. Okay, back to it. So, retro. We were discussing a retro, and we came to the conclusion that at some point in PS2 generation, there was maybe a switch or move to where things were retro or not retro. But it's also kind of up in the air because we can't really define it by a specific game because there were still genres at the end of the PS2 which were maybe considered retro and ones at the start which are not considered retro.
Correct.
Yeah. Do we have anything left for this podcast?
Well, you said in beforehand. Like, I'm really interested to talk about how retro might change as you get older.
Oh yeah, so that's a very good point. So like, if we were to take ourselves back to our year 2000 selves, when we were but bairns,
Yeah.
I think retro was like I still think that there was a place for like SNES era games.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because 96 was we had PlayStation 1 but we were still playing our SNES. And I think the move perhaps actually Nintendo's a very good
Okay,
gauge
here we
of
go.
this.
Here we go.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask a retro game?
Yes.
Okay. That's 2000. But in 2000, which we were pretending we were in, that's just come out. And we're going, oh man, look at this character in Majora's Mask. The graphics can never get better than this. But to us then, we're also playing Deus Ex, we're also playing Final Fantasy IX. What did we then think was retro?
So I think we probably considered NES era style perhaps retro. I think with the SNES there was obviously an increase in graphics But
Oh,
well, yeah, no, but like pixels, there was more colors for the pixels, and it there was actually maybe television is a good way of defining retro as well, because I'm
okay.
just kind of thinking like the move from CRT to
Uh-huh.
um sort of
Yeah.
LCD,
High def.
yeah, sort of change, but again that's 360 era more, because we weren't playing our PS2s on. I was playing that, plugging it in through a SCART cable.
Yeah.
You know, I think, um, sorry, dead air, dead air, dead air.
Okay. Okay. How
It's.
about here's go on.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say Nintendo's probably a good gauge through the years as well. So like we have, as I was saying, the Super Nintendo and the N64. The
Yeah.
N64 was very played for a long time, and that came out in 98.
Maybe yeah.
Yeah, well, 98 UK at least, I think. And I think,
Nintendo 64.
yeah, I think that crossed more barriers than perhaps the PlayStation did in terms of 3D, or at least I feel like it did. Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know that I do. Um, I've got a kind of a definition
Yeah, okay.
whilst you ponder that. That changes with everybody, and so this is maybe why there are endless arguments about what is and isn't a retro game. That's not a retro game. You're a retro gamer. No, I'm not a retro gamer. Yada 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 yada.
Yeah, yeah.
And it might just be things that came out before you were born or before you started kind of playing games as a pastime. Because to me, I think when I think retro, I do think loads of I think Atari, I
Yeah.
think arcades, I think early Commodore, early Amiga, I think Intellivision,
Yeah.
Spectrum, all these things that you'd hear about, right, from your dad and your mum and their mates as oh yeah, somebody has one of these, or you know you'd have them, but it was a mystery, to me. Um, and then when I saw them, I was instantly like, ugh, ugh.
Yeah.
You used to have to pay a quid to like play one level of this thing, when I can just play as much R type as I want for free, slash, because your parents have bought a console and a game coming to £150 or something. More. So how about that? How does that
Yeah.
sit with you? And that's why we have all these intergenerational arguments. And that's why people are saying, oh, I'm really into retro games. I'm just discovering the 360 because, now people with disposable income are getting to the age where
They're
yeah.
picking up these things and but like,
I mean, good luck to them.
yeah,
The
yeah.
360 must be so
Dodgy.
yeah.
Dodgy. So hard to use. Yeah.
Whereas SNESes and NESes are still going strong. GBAs at that point. Do you have anything else to add? Because I've got a little thing.
No,
Which
go for it. I think at this point, like, yeah, defining what is retro is hard, but I like your gauge, as it were. Sorry,
yeah,
go on.
I don't think it's before you were born, but it's before you. It's before you really get. Essentially, it's before your first console. Everything came before you got your first console.
Yeah.
Or okay, because that's gonna be fucked now, right? Because I guess kids are on like tablets and phones, and everything is one game, and everything's a game as a service. So maybe this is the end
Yeah.
of retro, because you'll be playing Fortnite when you're 70 at these. You just played the same game forever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in trying to look this up using popular internet search engines, one of the most popular internet search engines gave me a kind of algorithm, maybe AI compiled list of top retro games from across the web.
Okay.
From sources across the web, sorry. So it lists 12 top games. So this is, I think, quite interesting. And I'll go through the list and see if your gut tells you it's a retro or not. Because obviously this is condensed from all the stuff out there of people talking about retro games and their favorite retro games and top retro games, and lists of retro games and retro gamers.
Yeah.
And it's been condensed and spat out into here is what the combined consciousness has decided, and on not only retro games, which we'll look into, but also the top retro games, right?
Okay.
Priority organized by Google. These aren't in any priority, but these are the top 12, right, without looking any further.
Yeah.
So you ready for number one? Sorry. Sonic 2.
Retro.
Super Mario Kart.
Retro.
Doom.
Retro.
Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Retro.
Street Fighter 2 Turbo, specifically.
Yeah, retro.
Chrono Trigger, the upgraded version.
Yeah. Still, yeah.
Final Fantasy, the entire series.
No.
That's
That's wrong. Wrong.
Very strangely not specific. So the
Wrong,
other,
yeah.
Street Fighter 2 Turbo is specifically Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And then in this slop-generated, smashed-together list, the Final Fantasy series with a picture of... I think actually with a picture of Advent Children cover is there.
Okay.
Tetris, all platforms.
Yeah.
Which is debatable because...
Yeah, maybe Tetris 99 because it's a fun way of looking at it.
The original Donkey Kong.
Yes.
The Earthbound series.
Earthbound, yep. No, I'd say retro, definitely.
Which is interesting, because when did Mother 3 come out?
Oh, well, I mean, that was it was released in Japan, wasn't it? Or
No,
just
2006.
never got an English. Okay.
2006. Anyway, weirdly, it just says the whole series. Super Metroid.
Oh, yep.
And Shining Force 3. Shining Force 3. I think the algorithm starts. The AI starts to lose the will to live at number 12. So you pretty much on board with all of those being retro.
Yeah.
Apart from the weird filing categories of deciding that Final Fantasy, the whole series, should be in there. Would you say that those are the top 12 retro games of all time? And if not, could you care to suggest 2 or 3 top retro games of all time?
Did they have the Mario series other than Mario Kart in there?
No, just Super Mario Kart.
Fuck off. What is this?
I know, and this is why,
I mean, that would probably be the first thing. The first thing that pops into my mind when you say retro is literally little tiny Mario, the horrible old mushroom, and jumping and hitting the blocks. That's the first thing. That is what is the core memory, you know, for retro for me. And that actually comes past the time when I was playing games as well. I'm talking Commodore 64 games, which are technically more retro than the NES and Mario Brothers. So that's weird.
And weirdly, if you refresh the search, it gives you a different bunch of time. So I've just done it again, and Super Mario Kart's still in there. Super Mario World is in there. Streets of Rage 2. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, apparently, isn't it? One number 2 is. And Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Okay, yeah, so Mario, and that is weird, yeah, because that kind of did break our definition, because we both. Were we? I don't know. I did play Mario on a NES, but it wasn't my NES.
Yeah, to be honest, I never got a NES. I got a NES really, really late on. I think the SNES had been released.
Yeah.
And I remember in Curry's, they reduced the price of the NES.
Yeah.
And it had, what was it called? Mario 3 with it. So I got that. I think I actually bought it at the same time as I bought Super Return of the Jedi. That just to show you how old it was before I got the NES.
Yeah,
and like I don't think I had All Stars at that point, but it was about having that NES, which was quite cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that your hooky German copy of All Stars?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't hooky. It's just there was, there was a version out there which had a released cheat included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Glasgow Curry's version, made out the back.
No. It was
by a man called Tam.
No, that All Stars was on the SNES. It wasn't on the NES. It was just Mario 3 that they had on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so despite the fact that it doesn't really fall into the definition of retro that we kind of basically agreed in, we'd both agree that Mario, the original Super Mario Brothers, is one of the top retro games.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would say Tetris on the Game Boy.
Tetris, yeah. I think pretty much any Game Boy game. I think it's hard to say that any Game Boy game is not retro by any standards. So,
yeah, Pokemon Red.
Yeah, well, it's retro.
Okay. And then I think it'd be something from Amiga. So actually, weirdly, these are all things that I started playing. So it's not, so perhaps our definition shouldn't be before you were playing. It's
I think
things you started playing.
I think there has to be the things you started playing plus X. So there is a formula there. Yeah. So I think it must be like because time.
Plus time. Okay. Any other top retro games? If a young whippersnapper was saying, "Oh, all right, Grandad, why are you always going on about old games?" And you said, "Oh, shut up, Sonny. You have to play Super Mario. You have to play Mario Bros. You have to play Tetris on the Game Boy, and you have to play blah to prove to them that retro games are of any value." What is that third game?
So what are two?
Well, Mario Brothers
and Tetris.
Maybe something on the Game Boy.
Yes, Mario, something on the Game Boy. I don't know.
Really hard, actually. I don't think I would recommend anything on the Game Boy.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Tetris is Tetris, and it's
games
been played. Yep.
Games were good back in my day. Here's Tetris and Game Boy. Yeah.
Oh, Bubble Bobble, the original Bubble Bobble.
Okay, yeah, that's a good shout.
I like that as a retro game.
Me too.
Yeah, I think that feels good for me.
Yeah, and also you've got the arcade. It was on everything, but arcade, and I think perhaps people wouldn't have played it since. Although there probably still is a Bubble Bobble. There wasn't one recently, right? Ish.
Yeah, so there's one on the SNES which actually has a retro mode where it should allow you to play the original Bubble Bobble with the same physics, but with newer graphics.
Okay. And then the last, we need a third, because all good things come in three. What would be your third?
So we have Mario from Nintendo. We have Bubble Bobble from Namco, and but also Taito.
Taito, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, don't. It's already kind of rattling around my head.
Lemmings?
Oh no!
Oh no!
That's a good shout. Worms would be a good shout as well. Bum ba-dum ba-dum. Yeah, no, I'm thinking. Yeah, Lemmings. A little bit of retro.
What about like a strategy game?
Shadow of the Beast.
Shadow of the Beast. Yes. There you go. The trilogy is complete. That TGIM, The Verdict, the top 3 retro games of all time to teach these young whippersnappers that their newfangled games with their games as a service and their battle passes ain't shit, because you got to get yourself playing Mario Brothers, Bubble Bobble, and Shadow of the Beast.
Perfect. There we
Brilliant.
go. Feel
Happy
the
with that.
pain of Shadow of the Beast.
We never got past the second screen. You won't either, but it's fucking brilliant. Listen to that music. Look at the box art. You'll never know what happens. That's not in the game. Oh, look, here's a big baldy troll who's just going to come and punch you in the face to death.
Yeah, and you just need to remember that after all of the other things you have to remember in order to stay alive. Right, and if you go in and out the screen, he comes back again.
Everyone comes back in. Everyone comes back. We didn't have memory cards in those days. Okay, I'm happy with that. I think we should put a bow on it.
Bow on it, and that guy's a maniac.
Whitey bite me!